You don't lose yourself all at once. You leave in small moments and you come back in exactly the same way. Today, we're going to talk about staying with yourself. What does that even mean? And how to do that in a world that trains you to leave. Stick around. Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Nourished Life for Christian Women. I want to start with something simple but honest. Most of us don't realize we're leaving themselves because it doesn't feel dramatic. It feels like, I'll just push through. I shouldn't feel this way. I'll deal with that later. I just need to do better. And over time, those small moments, they add up to a life where you don't quite feel like yourself anymore. Over the past few weeks, we've been unpacking something really important, the feeling of not enough, and the truth that it actually isn't about you. We talked about how you learned it and how it shaped your relationship with yourself. And we talked about the moment that you start to realize that nothing was ever actually wrong with you. But today we're going to go one step further because seeing that truth is powerful, but learning to live from it, that's a whole different thing. And that's where things actually change. Today we're talking about what it actually looks like to stay with yourself in a world that has trained you not to. Now, what do I mean by stay with yourself? I recently had a conversation with a friend who said, but I don't really want to stay with myself. That's what I'm trying to get away from. And I said, no, no, no. When I say stay with yourself, I mean your real self, who you are at your very core. That one, that inner knowing, that person who came, that daughter who came like she was when she came from God. That one, that one who trusts herself, that one who has that trusting relationship with God. That's the person we want to stay with and learn to not override and leave behind. So here's what a lot of people get wrong. They think that self-abandonment is obvious. It's not. You didn't wake up one day and go, I think I'm going to disconnect from myself. You learned it slowly, subtly, and often were praised along the way for it. You learned to override your hunger because it was time to be good. You learn to ignore your emotions because they felt inconvenient or like too much. You learn to question your instincts because someone else seemed more right than you. And this might hit a little deeper. Sometimes you learn this in an environment where you were trying to do the right thing, to be kind, to be disciplined, to be faithful, to be better. Those are all good things, obviously. But somewhere along the way, be better quietly became don't be yourself. And that's where the disconnection starts. So let's make this real because if you can't recognize it, you can't change it. Leaving yourself can look like saying yes to someone or something when your body is just asking for rest. It can look like eating past fullness because I already blew it, whatever. It can look like talking to yourself in a way that you would never speak to somebody else, especially someone you love. It can look like looking outside of yourself for every answer, looking for that external validation. And one surprising thing is that it often looks like trying to fix yourself. Constant improvement, constant evaluation, constant, I should be doing better. Now, isn't that progress? Isn't that good? Not when it gets like that. That's not growth. It's disconnection that's just dressed up like discipline. Those are two different things. And that shift doesn't happen when you become perfect at it. It happens when you start to notice, when you catch the moment, when you say, I'm about to override myself. I'm about to ignore what I actually need. I'm about to leave myself. When you can start recognizing those moments, oh, that's a place of power. And instead of judging that moment, you just pause, take that sacred pause. And that is when things can change because now you have a choice. There's a moment in scriptures that I think about often. In Psalm 46:10, one of my favorites, it says, "Be still and know that I am God." We often hear that scripture as be quiet, calm down, do less. But what it also means, stop striving long enough to return to your deepest intuition. Stop overriding long enough to notice. Stop leaving long enough to be with yourself. Stillness isn't about inactivity, it's about presence. And presence is where reconnection begins. So, making this practical, because this is where people either grow or go back to old patterns. Staying with yourself doesn't look like perfection. It looks like this. You feel the urge to just give up and start over Monday. And instead, you stay in that moment and you gently question, what is it that's actually going on? You notice you're full, and instead of ignoring it, you honor it. Or you notice you're hungry, and instead of ignoring it, you honor it. You hear that voice that says, you should be doing better. And instead of believing it, you question it. Not aggressively and not critically, just honestly. This is small, it's quiet, and doesn't look super impressive to the outside world, but it's life-changing. Because every time you stay and learn in that moment, you rebuild trust with yourself. Not in a big dramatic moment, but in real time as you're living your day-to-day life. Well, let me normalize something. It's probably going to feel uncomfortable at first because you've spent years, maybe decades even, practicing leaving, practicing overriding yourself. So staying will definitely feel unfamiliar and it might even feel wrong, maybe selfish. But unfamiliar doesn't mean incorrect. It just means you're doing something new. So if there's one thing I want you to take from today, it's this. Don't rebuild your life all at once. You rebuild it in moments, in tiny moments, moments where you pause, moments where you notice, moments where you choose to remember who you really are and stay instead of leave. And if you've been listening to this series this month and something is starting to stir, that's not an accident. That's awareness. And awareness is the beginning of change. If you want support learning how to do this in your real life, day to day, or maybe even seeing your true self so that you can stay with her, not perfectly, not all at once, but gently, consistently, in a way that actually lasts, I would love to walk with you. You can book a nourishing chat with me. The way to do that, way to contact me for that, will be found in the um, episode description for this episode. And we'll look at what's been keeping you stuck and map out what staying with yourself can actually look like for you. So until next time, stay with yourself, your true self, even in small moments, especially in small moments, because that's where your life changes. And remember, eating is peaceful, movement is joyful, and your worth is never up for debate. See you next time. If today's episode or any other has resonated with you, I wanted you to know that I offer a free 30-minute call. If you'd like to schedule that, you can find the details for how to do that in the description for this episode. And in the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe.